Hello, and welcome to my channel. There's me over here, and apparently me over there as well. That's a whoopsies. Cirrus will be joining us momentarily, but I guess his cat had an accident or something? Oh, here we go, here we go. Do we have a Cirrus? We have a sort of Cirrus.
Oh, it's looking like I'm a green screen and only a green screen. That's cool.
Unity has not started sending image data.
That's interesting. Let's see if I can figure out why that's happening.
Heights.
Hold on. Why is it?
Ordinarily, this is the sort of stuff that we do behind the scenes before the show. But today, you can just have a normal background on now.
Nah,
Because I set up frames and shit.
Fine. Let's go get a background.
Alrighty. I mean, you don't have to have a background.
I guess the first thing I want to do is get rid of my color picker background.
I should
There we go.
probably stop filtering out the green.
What is this background?
Sure.
Nope.
Sure. That works. That's a background.
There we go. This'll work.
Harvey Esquire says the secret is reboot the Wi-Fi. So just do that,
No,
right?
this is the side effect. This is the side effect of rebooting my computer. This was a mistake.
There's the booby cat man, says Axolotl.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, but I've just had a crazy week. Like, the other day, one of my kids, like, didn't listen to me the other day. It was just awful. I don't know how I got through it.
Oh.
How was your week?
That is... Well, well, I've been in Alaska.
For a lot longer than intended?
Yeah, pretty much. Let's see here. Got stuck in a what was the series of events? So
I don't know. I've just been seeing whatever pops up into my Twitter feed, and it's like 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh, they canceled my flight again. So now I'm in a hotel again, and they're not paying for it again.
Yep. Okay. So the short version of that whole fiasco is my partner Saki, polyamory, other partner of 5 years, very abusive. When she was over at my house, she started getting a bunch of emotionally manipulative texts from him, and then eventually led to it got to the point where we made the decision, like, okay, maybe living back there after this is not safe. It's starting to feel like not safe. So the plan became, okay, well, we're going to a convention in Philadelphia. We're gonna leave the car in Philadelphia with a friend who's gonna drive it to Virginia. And then we are going to run to Alaska from a flight, and then get all of her stuff out of there, ship it to my house, and then fly back to Virginia, pick up my car from the friend. Because I picked up that friend to go to the convention.
Yeah.
And my roommate came with me as well. So there's like a whole bunch of bad things that happened here. Visiting Prophet of Zob was also part of the plan. That ended up happening. We went to a chicken and waffle place. That was fun.
Nice.
But then in Philadelphia, we missed our flight because they told us that, despite you being here an hour and a half early, that's not enough. And I'm just like, oh, I've never experienced that before, but I guess fuck me, early is late. So they went, okay, so we're going to push you till tomorrow. So we got a hotel, got pushed till tomorrow. We got there the next day, and they said, well, we've actually canceled your flight, and the next flight that's open is in 2 days. So instead of leaving on Monday, now you're leaving on Thursday. Like, oh, okay, cool. So we'll just get another hotel. Are you going to reimburse us for that? Nah, we can't do that. Okay, what about meals?
God.
Nah, we can't do that. Like, okay, fine, sure, whatever. We'll suck up that cost. Contact the roommate. Hey, so we need to buy you a hotel for like 5 days while you're stuck in Virginia. So we're not just buying one hotel every time this happens. We're buying 2.
Oh God.
And then from from there, when we finally when this happens, Saki sends to the partner like, "Hey, I'm late again," and he started having a full-on conniption fit, and that's when the decision was made. Like, okay, maybe we just tell him, because obviously he's going to make this super difficult if we don't. Because when you deal with abusers and you have that thought in the back of your head, don't tell them something until you absolutely have to for safety reasons. It was a lot of that.
Yeah.
Found out that was what was needed. Trigger warning. Dude, within minutes, attempted to off himself. And so we had to call for a wellness check on him. Had him sent to a hospital. But also the reason we knew we had to send a wellness check is he sent a message that said, I'm going to have to do something so you can see. It was very like, I'm the villain in an anime and I'm going to say the final words type of shit. I found out what he was talking about when we finally found out that what he was doing, because when we finally got there, ignoring the fact that we got delay after cancellation, when we finally get to Alaska, we get to the house, which luckily he's not in because the hospital has to hold you for a certain number of days after you do something like that. Saki's computer had been ripped off of the desk that it was in, and ramen had been poured down it. It was a $5,000 machine, by the way. So apparently his goal was destroy her stuff and leave a corpse for us to find. That was what his plan was.
Yeah.
And we ruined that plan with a wellness check. Well, and then, of course, we got stuck.
Good for you for ruining that.
And then, of course, we got stuck in Alaska. We got on a flight in Alaska, sat down, and started an in-flight movie. We started Puss in Boots 2, really good movie. And then we finished it, and then we started another movie. And around that time, they finally told us, hey, by the way, we need everybody to get off the plane. The flight's actually canceled. We have a mechanical error. We're like, we just sat through a whole fucking movie while they were troubleshooting the plane, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we finally left Alaska, got on a flight, and then had even more delays and delays and delays. And at this point, we have our cats. So every delay is increasing the time we're dealing with these animals longer.
Yeah.
And then when we finally got to Virginia, we got to start the 10-hour drive home.
And you got home, what, yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yesterday at like 8 p.m. So I've had the amount of time required to sleep, get up, buy some of the groceries that, the house is missing now, and get haircuts because this ordeal has been funny and I looked like a mad scientist by the time it was all done. And then take a 30-minute nap, get up and run here. Hi, Ryan.
Axolotl is upset that you're leaving out the elbow lady from the plane.
Oh, so on the last plane ride, there was this.
It's just the cherry on top of the.
If you think of like
fiasco.
If you think of like dumb blonde Fox News co-host bitch, but old, this is exactly who you are envisioning. Just imagine like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but 20 years older.
I was thinking Tommy Loren, but in her 70s.
Same idea. They all look the same. It's fine. Yeah. But so we sit down, and this woman says to me, because I'm in the middle seat, "Sir, can I have the rest of my seat?" And I look down. I'm not in her seat. I'm only in my seat. But of course, the way the economy works at airplanes is you only have one elbow rest.
Yeah.
That's it. So if even like a tiny microscopic bit of me were to spill over into there, because I'm not the smallest guy, apparently that inconvenienced her too much. So I scooted to the right, and I was not able to sleep for a good 3.5 hours in this flight because I couldn't sit comfortably. But here's the thing this bitch starts doing. I noticed her taking pictures of me.
Yeah.
And it's not a good thing to look at what people are doing on their phones. That's their private information. But when they take pictures of you, that rule goes away. That rule stops mattering. Fuck that rule. It doesn't matter anymore. Start looking at what they're doing with their picture on their phone. They've invaded your privacy. Fucking invade theirs. And I just started reading her sending the pictures of me to other people just typing in, this fat fuck isn't giving me my space. And I'm just like, lady, you are 70. Your bones are almost dust. Those are big words coming from someone with a foot in the grave.
Yeah, see, at that point, I probably wouldn't actually do this because I'm very, like, I just don't like interacting with people in public in general. So I would just like suck it up and be like, whatever. But like in my head, I'd be like, no, you know what? I should like take up as much space as possible now and be like, well, if you're going to be like texting pictures of me to your friends, then fuck you. I'm not going to respect your space. I'm just going to be comfortable.
My privacy.
It's like you're making fun of me to your friends, so no, you have not earned my respect, so I am going to sit comfortably and not worry about you.
I also realized I'm not using the right microphone, because apparently my microphone's not on.
Yeah, I thought you sounded a little weird. I'm just like, is he on like hotel Wi-Fi again and it's extra compressed?
Turn on the light. No, my mic apparently is not on, which is weird. It should be. My sound interface is on. My mic is plugged in.
Yes, the joys of tech. Again, this is not the first time this has happened. However, this is the first time it's happened before we've been in the thing before, like the green room, I guess you might call it. Is that my official green room? Zoom, but I haven't hit go live yet.
Yeah, it's just I've been working on the what's up?
Oh, that looks like that actually has sound now. Hold on, let me see if I can.
You sound much better already.
There we go. Yep, now it's grabbing from the right thing. Was it just not plugged in?
And now I just have to adjust my levels because you're quieter. Speak more.
Hello, speaking.
Hello, speaking. Okay, I think we're good.
Speaking.
I think we're about the same level. It looks like the same level visually, and I'm really bad at sound. Okay, I'm just gonna come out and say that because like when I'm live streaming with my partner, I'm looking at the levels and I'm like twiddling them, trying to get them to look approximately equal, and I doubted myself this time because in the past, when I make it equal, when I go back and listen to it, I always sound louder. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just because I sit closer to the microphone. Maybe it's because I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm recording you through Zoom, whereas I'm recording me directly through professional grade equipment. I don't know. I don't know why that is, but I always sound louder to myself in these things than you, even when the levels look the same. So when we were streaming live together, I like made the levels look the same and then pulled myself back a little bit because I'm always loud. And then yesterday's stream was just like, I'm so much quieter than her. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do anymore. It's like the visual thingy is supposed to be telling me how loud things are, but apparently it's not. I mean, it is, but like
it's not doing the proper job of it.
Something's going on where I'm reading it incorrectly, or I've got some setting tweaked or something. I don't know. I don't fucking know. But yeah, so
even is
actually,
life anyway?
I highly recommend going back and watching yesterday's stream because that's where we paraphrase the Bible and we get such gems as Ephesians something or other is respect the dick, and Genesis 3:15 is and thus did Eve snowball Adam's come back into his own mouth, and these are all like. These all have rationalizations and how you can interpret these verses that way. They're not very good, mind you, but they are amusing.
Okay, then that's
They won't stand up to scholarly scrutiny, but that's not the purpose of the show.
It's funnier when they do, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, sometimes they kind of do. The snowballing one does not. That was just us being gross.
Respect the dick.
Respect the dick. Basically. That's
what about the one from his? She likes men to have big cocks. Ezekiel, let's go.
Ezekiel 23:20.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's just right out there. But that's said as a bad thing. But yeah, no, the one in Ephesians, respect the dick. That's the verse about how like, men love your wives and wives respect your men, or respect your husband. And I've mentioned that like there's a whole Christian marriage book that like maybe we'll do after we finish this one, called Love and Respect, and it's all about how like, oh, men need to be respected, women need to be loved, and it's not that men don't want to be loved, it's that like the respect is more important than the love, and vice versa.
That sounds like a fucking mafia. Would you rather be loved? Or would you rather be respected? You okay there?
Yeah, just went in the wrong hole.
Look, any hole's a goal.
Any hole's a goal, yeah. It's Isaiah 53:7. No, Isaiah 53 is the suffering servant prophecy.
Yo, babe, length equals horse, emission equals donkeys. Other way around, but yes, Logan.
Yeah, it was whose members are like those of donkeys and whose emissions are like those of a horse. That's in my Bible memory verses. Anyway, before we get started, you sent me some fan art. I'm okay to show this, right? I didn't ask you this before.
You should be good too, yeah.
Okay. So, Smacko did this fan art. Smacko did this fan art. I think it's adorable, and I love it, and it's amazing. Still not done yet, but I think it looks great.
Yeah.
And
apparently, I'm a Digimon, and you are my Digidestin.
I mean, I feel like that's a good fusion of like your more anthropomorphic avatar with your little blob avatar.
Hmm.
I feel like that's a really good fusion of that, and I like it, and it's adorable. And I actually look, like somewhat suave and handsome.
You look somewhat presentable.
Yeah, I look like I have my life together.
As opposed to normally where, you know.
Hey, okay, you see that ugly white thing behind me? Like 2 minutes before the stream, I like had to sweep off all the dead fern leaves from that. Because that's how together my life is. I've killed a fern. Well, it's not dead yet, but
it would have been
there.
It would have been really weird if like one of your kids ran behind you at that exact moment. You see that ugly white thing behind me?
No. My daughter doesn't live here anymore. Because it's summer vacation, so like the last 2 nights she slept over at a friend's house, and then I got a text again today being like, hey, can I sleep over again? It was like, I haven't seen her in 3 days.
Oh, so she's just gone.
Yeah, I text her back. I'm like, oh, you need to come home and like give me a hug at some point to remind me that you still live here before I give your room to one of the boys, because yeah, we got a lot of kids and not a lot of bedrooms.
Yeah, some of them share rooms. Yeah.
Well, I mean, our rooms are big, so like there's enough room for them all. Like they all have beds and there's like a play area, but like there are technically 4 boys in 1 room. So like if she's gonna move into her friend's house, I'm gonna move a couple boys into her room.
Yeah, split them up, give them a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're in the process of getting quotes for redoing the basement into proper bedrooms. And yes, before people in the chat ask, that does include the fire escapes to make it like legal bedrooms and everything. So
you guys have to have fire escapes from the legal bedrooms?
Yeah, because otherwise from a basement there's only one exit. So if there's a fire at the exit, you're fucked. So there needs to be a second exit. It doesn't have to be like an official fire escape, but like there are windows that you can install that are like fire escape windows specifically for this purpose. Do you guys not? Well, you live in Georgia, so there's no regulations probably.
They're here. We have zoning laws. I can tell you that modifications have been made on several people's houses here that may or may not be up to certain codes that nobody's read.
Well, so I don't know how many details she's comfortable with me giving publicly, but I think it's okay to say that so my partner is doing lawyer related stuff with her ex right now.
I've been seeing the
and it has caused me she's got a great lawyer and has caused me great amusement. Her lawyer, in the last letter she sent to his lawyer, she actually called him absurd in the letter.
So like, based on the based on the stuff I've seen from it, my brain immediately started writing like really snarky Reddit level tweets.
Yeah, it's
as,
basically
as things that he would respond with.
Oh, and well, I mean, she uses a good word for it. He is being absurd. It's actually hilarious. Like, again, I'm not going to give details because these aren't my details to share.
I know that there's like so I know that there's a certain etiquette that you have to maintain as a lawyer in order to actually, submit any response that you have and have it be taken seriously by the court. But just the idea of just beginning a sentence with, "I don't have the time or the crayons."
Yeah. No, but I love it because like her lawyer has been getting all sorts of little like her lawyer says all the things that I want to say all snarkily to him, but like in legalese and proper legal speak. So like I always like anytime I know that there's a letter coming, I'm just like, oh well, she's probably not going to do this because it's not proper to do, whatever. And then I see the letter and it's like, oh, she's so good. You've got a good lawyer. I love it. Anyway,
if lawyering was just a roast battle, and she's doing a fine job.
Oh, well, I mean, in this case, it basically is a roast. But he's, again, not going to give the details, but he's the one that started the legal proceedings, and he should not have done that because he has no case. And my partner's lawyer has basically pointed that out in the best way.
I just begin one of the letters with, "I regret to inform you that you have taken on a terrible case. It's not your fault that you've been this desperate, but it is your client's fault."
Well, so I kind of wonder, like, some of the text messages that I've seen is like, is he ignoring his lawyer's advice, or does he have a bad lawyer that's not telling him to not say these things? Because, like, he's saying things that, like, if we just take a screenshot of that, that helps our case. Mm-hmm. And it's very obvious that it helps our case. So, like, does he just have a bad lawyer who's not telling him not to do that? Or is he ignoring the lawyer's advice? I don't know. But it works for me.
Oh, boy.
Anyway. So I've got an Eric Hovind video. That should cheers. Okay, so I saw someone asking earlier about the Supreme Court things. I'm avoiding the Supreme Court shit because, like, we all know the Supreme Court made some bad decisions and it was shit, and I kind of want to just not deal with that right now because, like,
I'm just gonna say, after last year, reading in a 6-3 vote has become a trigger phrase for me.
Yeah. If it's a 6-3 vote, you know it's going to be bad. And then fucking Justice Roberts is like, ooh, it's really disturbing that people are criticizing the Supreme Court. And you're like, wouldn't it be more disturbing if they weren't allowed to criticize the Supreme Court? Like, if they weren't making disturbing decisions, maybe there'd be less criticism.
So I like how so I saw the picture of him saying the quote, and then of course the Twitter thing happens where people add context to it, and you get the little notification that says that, actually there's context missing here. I read the whole quote, and the context makes it worse. Yeah. Because in context, instead of him saying don't criticize the Supreme Court, he's saying that if you don't have the expertise that he does, then don't speak on topics that he's judging on. I'm like, well, hold on a fucking minute. So if you judge on a woman's body, what expertise do you fucking have? Where's the goddamn clip,
only the women justices are allowed to vote on that one. And that'd be a 50-50 split, so that's not necessarily a good thing.
I mean, at that point, you know what you do, right? You just get rid of the entire court and start over.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Yep.
Fusel says, my first thought was, oh no, the legal costs must be terrible. Then I remembered you're in Canada. No, lawyers are expensive in Canada too. And actually, she'd probably be okay with me sharing this detail because it's just about her. It's not got nothing to do with her partner or kids or whatever. But she originally was going to go through legal aid, which is like if you make under a certain amount of money, then the government will pay for your lawyer for this sort of thing. And because she's in school, she's not working full time, so she qualifies for legal aid, except she has a retirement account in Cayman Islands of all fucking places. That's like the balance, and it's like one of those things where like if she doesn't declare it, the Canadian government is never going to find it unless they actively go looking for it, but her ex knows about it, so but yeah, so all right, Naramdaput says, pro tip, a tip for a pro. Thank you, Naramdaputs.
Neat.
I wish the Stream Elements bot would actually say what the message is in the chat. Like the Stream Elements bot like tells me that there was a tip. But like when it's fine on this channel, but when I'm streaming on my main channel, I haven't figured out how to change my activity feed to my main channel because it's just like a browser source. But for whatever reason, it's not tied to whatever account I'm logged into in the main browser, and I have to like there's no like switch account.
You have to have like the windows that are dedicated just to looking at tips and super chats and shit
yeah,
like that.
I don't know. It's weird. So like there were a couple tips in yesterday's stream that got like I got the tip notification, but it didn't show a message alongside the tip. So yeah, sorry if that was you. Well, that wasn't you. Oh, look, my partner's in the chat. Hi. I know you're working on school stuff right now. I appreciate you coming in to tell everybody that you'd have sex with me. That's always appreciated. I mean, especially if I look like the guy in that picture there, because they made me look sexy.
So at least the legal expenses must be paid by the losing side, right? Is that still the rule in?
It depends. It can either go it could go either way. It depends. We feel like the norm is that everybody just pays their own legal expenses, but we feel like this case is ridiculous enough that we might get them paid by him. But again, I'm not going to give details, so.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Okay, anyway, on to Eric Hovind. I set this whole thing up so that I could... Okay. Eric Hovind talks about biblical science.
Every field of science, from anthropology to paleontology to astronomy, is revealing that the biblical view of creation is accurate and it's consistent with all the science that we actually see today.
So the Bible is consistent with all the science that we see today.
So the flood.
So when we carbon date things to 50,000 years old, that's consistent with the Bible that Eric believes says the Earth is only 6,000 years old? When we use any of the other dating methods, like uranium, lead?
I guess in his defense, the Bible doesn't actually say the Earth is 6,000 years old.
No,
I know,
no.
I know he's
Eric is of the opinion that if you count the generations and you count up all the ages, it's 6,000 years old, and it says so in the Bible. It doesn't give that exact number because it's a book, so the Earth gets older while the book just stays the same. But
I understand where they get it from. I grew up in a young Earth creationist private school. I get it. I'm just saying that, like, if he wanted to,
you're giving him too much credit.
He's from my hometown. I have to.
Eric is from your hometown?
Or at least he fucking works there, Pensacola?
I don't... Yeah, maybe. I don't know. The Hovinds and Pensacola go together like... I don't know. Chocolate and peanut butter, I guess. Because I was thinking Pensacola when you said that, but I don't know if he still operates in Pensacola. I don't know. I just know they did for a long time.
I'm fairly certain he still does. Let's see. Creation Today.
That's where he stole his dad's ministry from.
I like how it says he's the president and founder of the Pensacola-based organization.
Is he the founder?
That's what it says on Creation Today.
I mean, the founder of Creation Today, maybe, but not the founder of,
of all that entire ministry.
Yeah, no, he kind of nipped that from his dad while his dad was serving jail time for fraud.
It was actually structuring, and it's the most stupid law that you. Have you heard his entire diatribe on why he went to jail?
Hovinds or
Yeah,
okay. When I say Hovind,
older Hovinds.
I'm meaning Kent. If I say Eric, then I'm meaning Eric. So for some reason in my brain, Kent is just Hovind, but Eric is Eric Hovind.
Kent Hovinds.
Okay.
Like he goes into
he goes into the whole structuring is not really a fair thing, and they just made it up because they wanted to catch me.
And I'm just sitting there like, my God, my guy, you're bitching and complaining that you had tens of thousands of dollars and you withdrew it in amounts that were too large.
Okay, Fennec says peanut butter and chocolate together is gross. I'm gonna have to ban you from my channel.
You need to leave.
You
need to leave.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but that opinion is objectively wrong.
I'm gonna be honest.
Now, do Reese's peanut butter cups adequately capture the chocolate peanut butter mixture?
No.
No. The original Reese's peanut butter cups are pretty good, but it's not real peanut butter.
It's chalky.
Yeah, it's a weird texture peanut butter. They're still pretty good, but actual peanut butter and actual chocolate is actually good.
Make a chocolate chip cookie and dip it in some warm peanut butter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get to do that much anymore because one of my partner's kids has a peanut allergy, so we tend to not buy peanut related things anymore.
Yeah.
Every now and then, when they're with their father, we'll buy something peanut related, but it's something that we have to know is going to be done before they get back.
Are they good with hazelnut?
Yeah, it's just peanuts. Peanuts and eggs are the
okay. So Nutella's fine.
Annie's allergic to everything in nature, but
wait, Eric Hovind attended PCA? Oh, that explains so much.
Okay. Anyway, back to Eric.
No.
Back to Eric.
Yet now, with so many advancements, some in the church are merging the Bible with this doomed theory of evolution.
So the Bible is compatible. All of the science confirms the Bible,
except for the science.
But some people are trying to make science match with the Bible, and that's wrong because it's the science that I don't like.
Oh, because to him, evolution's not real. That's his defense he's gonna have there. It's Chucky Darwin was wrong. Therefore,
M. Fisher is asking my partner if or what they're studying. She's studying to be a psychotherapist, actually. So I've been proofreading most of her papers. So I've been reading a lot of scientific studies on psychotherapy and stuff like that. It's it's actually fascinating. She's incredibly smart, and we will sit here working together, and we actually haven't done it in a while, so I kind of miss this, but we'll sit here working together, and I'm researching my young earth creationist crap, and she's researching her psychotherapy crap, and we'll find something interesting, be oh, did you know? And that's a fun little thing that we need to get back into doing.
I didn't realize. So I'm on this rabbit hole of looking at Eric Hovind facts now, and I don't know why.
Why?
I didn't.
The only fact you need to know is that Eric Hovind is an anagram for Vice Rhino because he stole my name.
I didn't realize that he had something to do with the propaganda film Trump 2024.
Oh God, did he? Fuck.
It says the director was Dwight Thompson and the stars
Here's the thing. Because we are friends with Paul, and Paul is friendly with Eric, I want to always give Eric the benefit of the doubt. I want to be he's a nice guy. He's nice to my buddy Paul. They're buddies, even though they disagree, and they'll have conversations about it and stuff. And yeah, Eric always takes him out of context and tries to make him look terrible. But he just does so much just objectively bad shit.
Nah, I don't.
I'm just I can't. I want to like him because Paul seems to personality wise, Paul seems to at least get along with him. So I'm not going to speak on behalf of Paul, but he seems to like him as a person. And there's a part of me that's yeah, you know what? People deserve a certain base amount of respect, and if he's going to give it to Paul, that like, you know, maybe if I were to get into contact with him, we would hit it off as well, and I would like it. But it's like, he's just such a heinous, evil person in so many ways that it's just like, I can't. Like, that's one of Paul's gifts, is that he has this ability to like see the best in people, even when they're completely shitty people. And then I feel kind of vindicated in that, like, I can just be like, oh no, this is a shitty person. Like, yeah, Paul will be the one that gets along with them and has the intellectual discourse with them. I'm going to be the one that comes along behind and be like, no, this person's a piece of shit.
That's kind of where I have to sit as well, because I can't, like, here's the thing. Eric may be the most pleasant person in the entire world. He seems like a very pleasant person. Problem, I don't give a fuck how pleasant you are if the words that come out of your mouth amount to a combination of the gays should die, you deserve to burn in hell for existing, and something that's not even your choice, because belief isn't really a choice. And oh, by the way, every advancement we've had in medicine in the last 50 years is wrong because the theory it's based on I don't like. Like no, yeah. When those are like some of the core values that you have as a person, I don't care how well polished your smile is. I think it deserves to be of a California flavor.
Scott Dillahunt says Paulogy is good people. Paul is good people. Paul is better than me, so I'm just going to go ahead and say
Paul is a much better person than I am as well. I will give that.
Paul is fantastic.
I think a lot of violent thoughts.
And Eric is a piece of shit. Paul would never say that Eric is a piece of shit. So anyone that is still holding on to that old trope of like me and Paul are the same person because we've never been in the same room or whatever, that's an old one. There's some people that still comment on that anytime we do anything together. And it's just like, wow, you've been with us since like the beginning if you're still going with that. But like that used to be a thing. It's like, no. I'm comfortable saying Eric is a piece of shit. Paul would never say that publicly.
I thought there was a brief bit in time where a couple people commented that mine and your voices sounded similar as well. They do kind of like I can go back to the videos that they said that on and listen to them and be like, yeah, no, I can see where they got this from. Yeah. That's why when I did that first video on your channel years ago, I began it as you.
Oh, this wasn't supposed to be Nostalgia Day. Let's go back to Eric. Oh, no, that was the end of it.
That was the...
Whoopsies.
He was at the end the whole time.
Okay, article time. So, yeah, I think I mentioned I'm not going to be talking about the Supreme Court because fuck them. I don't need to get into that. Other people are going to be doing intellectual stuff. I can just say fuck the Supreme Court. They're a piece of shit.
I'm gonna have to play catch up on covering all the Supreme Court decisions since a lot of stuff happened while I was gone.
Yeah, no, they just dismantled civil rights while you were gone. Civil Rights Act doesn't matter anymore. So anyway, this was a Hemant Medic article posted yesterday, and I found it interesting because I'm surprised that Hemant didn't reference the later religious landmark study or whatever from Pew. So he's talking about religious switching, and so people are leaving Catholicism, mainline Protestantism, and historically black Protestantism. That's a hard word to say when you're 3 or 4 beers in. I might have had a couple of beers before the show, so I'm a little.
But you might have forgotten them because of the later beers.
Yeah, I'm a little further along in alcohol-wise than I normally am for the show, so my apologies for the slurred speech. So people are leaving those faiths at a much faster rate than they were entering, and people joining the ranks of the religiously unaffiliated are like that's happening much more frequently than them exiting. Evangelical Protestants, according to the 2015 study, were increasing by a little bit, whereas everybody else was decreasing by either a little bit or a lot in the case of Catholics, because like all the kid fucking, I'd imagine, kind of has a negative impact on that number.
Look, if
your
religion
the kid fucking has a negative impact on that number.
If your religion can't survive a little kitty diddling, good.
Yeah. Okay, Steve Weber says Paul is also bending over backward, not scaring away Christians from his content. Yeah, he is actively trying to make content that a Christian can watch and not be like, oh, this is an atheist who's anti-Christian. This is someone who is friendly to Christians and he's just bringing up good points that are going to make me think. That's what Paul does, and he does it very well. He's fantastic at it.
He's very good at speaking from that perspective.
Whereas me, I'm just speaking from, I used to be a young Earth creationist, and young Earth creationism is stupid. So here's how me, someone who I like to think that I'm fairly intelligent. So here's how someone who I think is fairly intelligent could fall for this young Earth creationism thing, and I'm just going to use what I consider to be intelligent things to turn it down. And one of the brilliant things about our little community of atheists is like we all have a slightly different approach. And our various approaches are good for people at different walks in their deconversion process. So Paul is like, I would say he's more introductory. He's going to engage with the apologetics. He'll engage with the actual apologists, like your William Lane Craigs and stuff. Like you watch the exchange between him and William Lane Craig. Paul engages with Craig's ideas, whereas Craig is like, oh, Paul is just like this angry atheist who's trying to destroy stuff. But then you watch Paul's video and it's like, no, he's not an angry atheist. He's actually engaging with the ideas. And William Lane Craig is resorting to ad hominem attacks against him
because it's all he's got and it's what he's used to.
But like normally he's pretty good at hiding it in sophistry. But like he has to like be pretty blatant about it with Paul. So like that becomes more like that's more approachable to someone who is still a Christian, whereas like someone like me who is maybe a bit more abrasive and enjoys more dick jokes and swearing and stuff like that, I'm for people that are a little bit more further on in that journey and are like maybe looking for the catharsis of this is fucking stupid.
Well, and then when you get to the far end, when you get to the end of the line,
that's where you hit Sir Sick. Oh, John. Yeah, John. I
was gonna say there's John there.
Yeah, I think Sir Sick is probably a bit more abrasive than John, if I had to.
Yeah. Well, because like the thing is,
like John still engages with the intellectual discussion, whereas Sir Sick, a lot of his, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but like a lot of his stuff is like, well, that's fucking dumb. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, no, like John can sit down with the scholarship, and he can do it well. But also,
and now we're not saying that to disparage Sir Sick. He would say the same thing. He'd be like, "No, I'm just an idiot that makes dick jokes."
Like if Paul's abrasive level is 0 and your abrasive level is 3, John's a 7 and 6 a 9.
Yeah.
I don't know where I fall into there. It depends on the day.
People have told me I gotta collab with Sir Sick. We gotta get Sir Sick on here at some point so we can. Because I've interacted kind of indirectly with him, so like I don't want to speak too much on his behalf, but at the same time, like from what I've seen, like this is kind of what he would say. I don't know, but I might be wrong on that. Anyone who watches Sir Sick more than I do, feel free to correct me if I am wrong.
Well, of course you're wrong. You're an atheist, and you're angry about it, and you hate God.
Sure. So Hemant says anytime you see graphs like this, you should wonder if like there's anything about the study that actually led to this result, because with surveys, like the way they word questions can have a big impact on the results. So he's like, oh, well, that's why it always it helps if you run a different survey with different methods that find the same results. So he found that sociologist Ryan P. Burge used the General Social Survey to look at the same thing. And what he well, it's not quite the same thing. This is how many people, when they're born into a certain religion, remain that religion throughout their life. And so they found that over time, evangelicals have gone from like 78% to 73%. Mainline Protestant is 58%. Black Protestant is 87% to 71%, so on and so forth. But basically, every Christian denomination is seeing a decreasing share of people that were born into that religion staying that religion. Whereas the nuns, which is not actually atheist, despite what I titled the video, so sorry for the clickbait. # sorry, not sorry. The nuns are they're the only group that's increasing. So they've gone from 36% to 66%. And
we doubled.
Yeah. So now 66%, that's not significant as far as like born into it and staying into it, but all of the people, like, of the 27% of evangelicals and 30 some odd percent of mainline, etc., of like all of these other religions, like, where are they going when they deconvert? Most of them are going to not affiliated, no religion.
Which is definitely more than it used to be. It used to be you were born into if you were born into an a-religious household, you might go to like summer camp with your friend and then come out converted by the end of it and talking to your parents, starting fights.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, interestingly, this is something that I didn't expect, and neither did Hammond, I guess, but of the 34% of people who are raised without religion that become religious, about half of them start identifying as evangelical Christians. Which, that seems weird. But also, at the same time, that kind of makes sense, because if you're raised without religion, most people, that's all that is I'm just not going to talk about it at all. Like, they don't really impart knowledge one way or the other. And the evangelicals are the ones that are going to be most forceful in trying to convert people.
Yeah, they have the whole point of the evangelical revivals. That's
what the word evangelical means.
Yeah, so I guess it's agitating, but it's not something that you wouldn't have figured just by context clues in the first place.
Yeah,
especially if you live in the South.
But also, we're living in an interesting time demographically speaking, because most of the nuns now are people that used to be religious. There are very few people that were actually raised non-religious. So we're really only just starting to see the results of people who are actually raised non-religious to see what happens to them as they grow up. So it'll be interesting to watch this trend as time goes on. But oh goodness, I forget which button I set up for this. But I'm actually kind of surprised that Hemant didn't use the survey from 2020, which wasn't this button. Yeah, there we go. So this is the survey that looked at religious switching in 2020, and they found that the unaffiliated group gained 7.5 million members worldwide, and Christians lost 8.1 million members worldwide.
That's an even bigger jump.
Yeah, so the unaffiliated group, like there are some religions that are growing, and this is specifically to people converting. So this isn't like I'm a Christian and I had a bunch of kids and all my kids are Christian. This is specifically who became a Christian, who became unaffiliated, who became a Muslim. And it's the Muslim folk religions and other religions, which are like the Jainism and the ones that are smaller than the Hindus and the Jews, which are relatively tiny compared to the other big guys. But like, most religions are losing members. The only one that's really gaining members through conversion are the Muslims, and I feel like they're mostly converting Christians, because that's actually a fairly common thing that I've run across in my work, is Christians that have become Muslims at some point.
I've only really seen like one or two atheists go the Muslim route. I've seen a couple go there was one notable one that I saw go the Muslim route that ended up going to jail for child sexual abuse.
Yeah, we're thinking of the same guy.
Because I guess Islam is...
Specifically, as she was on her period, laid his head in her lap so his ear would be next to the period blood as he was dictating parts of the Quran. I don't know why that is a thing. It feels almost like fetish material.
That makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Made me uncomfortable too. This is knowledge that can't be unknown.
I sometimes lay my head in my partner's lap, but that has nothing to do with her period blood. That has to do with I like it when she rubs my back, and that's the position that it works the best in. And if she were 9 years old, she wouldn't be my partner because that's a fucking child. Anyway.
Look, all I'm saying is he was apparently one of the most holy of men.
No, he wasn't. He was a warlord who liked to fuck kids.
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
And don't worry, you'll get it. You'll get at least 12 comments.
Somebody clip this for the next time somebody complains that I don't cover Islam enough.
I was about to mention that, and don't worry, you'll have about 12 comments from people saying that you wouldn't say this about Muslims. Yeah, we would.
No, see, I wouldn't talk about Well, I probably wouldn't talk about Muslims like, and I avoid this with Christians as well. Like, I forget who I had on, but there was someone I had on that kept on saying Christians this and Christians that, and it was like I had to like butt in at some point and be like, well, just to clarify, when you say Christians, you're meaning this particular type of Christian, because like there are Christians who are Unitarian Universalists who are like happy-go-lucky and everything's fine, whatever, gay people are fine. Let's not impact the laws. But like those aren't the majority, like mainline evangelical hardcore Christians. So like let's distinguish between those two.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the same thing with Muslims. Like, yeah, I can say this bad shit about that is recorded to have been done by the Prophet Muhammad without saying that all Muslims are bad people who think pedophilia is a good thing.
Oh, it's like when I so in the airport there was a lot of the advertisements that are placed everywhere.
I'm just in my head, I'm like, he's connecting pedophilia to Delta Air out of spite.
It was United, but no, not
or
actually.
United, whatever. Do you like to fuck kids? Fly United.
We'll get you out of there in Chile where the Catholic Church can relocate you.
Oh,
they got a fund for it and everything. No, it was just what. So as we were going through, I think it was the Denver airport. There was a lot of, there were a lot of signage everywhere that was basically promoting diversity. That's what it was for. But the way in which they did it. When they had the example of like, speak up and be proud for women everywhere, it was a woman in hijab, and my brain immediately went, maybe not that one, maybe not the forced dress code for patriarchy. So maybe that's not the one you use for women speaking out. Maybe. Yeah.
All right. Shall we get to some tweets?
I guess we can.
Remember how I did like one article because I'm like, oh, Cyrus has had a rough week. We can have a short one, so I'll only do one article. And now it's 9:30.
Yeah.
Okay. Ada Lulch says, I saw that in the Netherlands that a transgender was given the title for Miss International Queen 2023. I won't post a picture of that man and then post a picture of someone else that won some other beauty contest. Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not, but I'm actually about to look up who won because I guarantee...
No, Cyrus, this is delicious because the Miss International Queen pageant is a pageant that is specifically for transgender women. So like this person is so transphobic that they are upset that a trans person won a beauty pageant for trans people.
Huh.
Like, what the fuck?
Okay. Sure, why not? Also wait, this is who she's angry about? So the person's name was Fuchsia Ravenna? Who the fuck would think this is a man? Who? Hold on, Rhino.
What?
This is the real reason she refuses to post a picture of her.
Is because...
I just sent you on Discord.
Oh, God. Okay. I was just trying to look it up.
Who would think that?
Okay, but forget whether or not they pass.
No, I'm not forgetting it. I refuse to forget it. I'm looking at this going, she tried. No. I'm sticking on this. The whole reason this dumb bitch tries to do this whole like, oh, the reason I won't show a picture of that man is because she knows that her audience has an image in their head of what a trans woman looks like, and it looks like the cartoon images that are posted by the fucking Valid L's Twitter channel all the time. That's the image of a trans woman in their heads. So she refuses to show a picture of the winner because there are some people who are incredibly transphobic but yet have never actually seen what a transitioned female can look like. And yet here we are. Like,
what's her name again? Fuchsia something?
Fuchsia Ravenna.
Fuchsia Ravenna. Yeah, I'm not afraid to say it. She's fucking hot.
Like, I'm gonna stick on that for a second, because it's not the whether or not she passes conversation. You don't have to pass to be valid and be trans. I don't care about that conversation right now. The conversation I care about is the fact that the entire point of not showing her picture is for audience manipulation, because she knows that her entire argument, even if this were a regular women's competition that's not specifically made for trans women, she of course doesn't show that part too, because her audience gets manipulated by that.
No, she didn't know that part. She just saw beauty contests and was like, oh, this has to be for cis people.
I'm not giving that benefit of the doubt. No. I'm just going to go with malicious person does malicious things.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Sure.
Shouldn't.
I heard you say that. I'm like, how is saying that she's too stupid to have like done some basic fact checking giving the benefit of the doubt? I feel like that's giving her. We can argue about which one makes Ada look better, but because they both have her looking like an idiot.
Now, I'm gonna go full Sun Tzu's Art of War. I'm not going to assume incompetence here. I'm going to assume that every single marker of this was a deliberate strategical move, and in so doing, she shows her hand entirely.
So, Cute Dark Arts has pretty wings in the last one. Oh yeah, lots of pretty wings in that picture.
People make me angry. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, people are stupid. Particularly Ada. More trans stuff. EJ Rosetta, this is a two-parter, says, "Dear trans women," only one word, so you know they're transphobic. Says, "You have so much power right now."
No, they don't.
No, they don't. "If you'd only stand up and say, me using a woman's bathroom isn't worth the risk that poses to women and girls, so I won't do that, then you would see immediate action from feminists to protect you in male spaces. I have faith in you."
That would be every trans person getting up and saying, hey, inside me is the budding seed of a rapist, and I don't want to put myself in a position where I might rape a person. That's what that would be.
Well, also, like, that would be, like, this person that I'm showing now, this absolutely gorgeous trans woman, now has to, like, go into the men's room to use the washroom, according to this person. Not to mention the fact that, like, if you look into this, there have been a grand total of 1 instances of men who have actually, like, dressed as a woman to invade a woman's only space in order to commit sexual assault, and it was in Toronto before Ontario passed any of this any like equality in bathrooms for trans people bills. So, like, this person entered a woman's shelter dressed as a woman, pretending to be a woman, in order to assault women, and it was done when it was illegal to do that. It was like a trans woman would not have been allowed in a woman's shelter in this time period, and this person was still allowed in a woman's shelter. So, like, making it illegal for trans women to use women's bathrooms does not actually protect women. All it does is make trans people less safe.
And,
like, that's, like, the thing that I just said, that's the one example of a man actually dressing as a woman in order to invade a woman's space, pretending to be a woman in order to sexually assault women. Like, that just never happens. It's just not a thing that ever happens.
I'm so tired.
And anyway, moving on to point 2, they continue. It's not trans women I personally fear, it's the men, the male kind, using the gaping loophole of self-ID to access women's spaces. The cross-dressers in bathrooms, the fetishists in lesbians' bars, the men using women's changing rooms at the gym. You could stop that. Please try to. Like I said, this has not ever been an issue except for one time, and it was a time when it was illegal to do that. So
moreover,
self-ID does not make it more risky for women. It just makes it safer for trans people.
Not to mention, I literally, a friend of mine who was homeless and is trans but had not been able to transition because of, being homeless.
Yeah.
Was in a shelter where they got assaulted in the shelter because it was a men's shelter and that was the only place you could go to in Florida. Like the fucking, it's not hard. It's not hard to see what the actual threats are here, but the imaginary ones are infinitely more interesting, I guess. It's like with the QAnon shit, where you get a group of people that have this giant make-believe conspiracy session about all the terrible devil evils in the world, and they focus on those a lot, and they talk about them in almost like it's a kid's clubhouse, and then they simultaneously never do anything about any of it, feel important when bad things don't happen because people like Alex Jones tell them, oh, well, you knowing this, that would have stopped them. That would have stopped them.
Is Alex Jones still broadcasting?
Yes, he is.
Does anybody still listen to him?
Yes, unfortunately. He's still a multimillionaire and he still makes plenty of money.
God damn it.
But because back when I was an Alex Jones fan,
you used to be an Alex Jones fan?
Yes, when I was.
Oh my God, Cyrus.
Okay, so fun story for that. So when I was 16, 17, that very, very much, conservative Christian, not quite as young Earth creationist as I used to be because my biology teacher was a Catholic, and because PCA taught in a very non-denominational way so they could get more students and therefore more money. In my brain, a Catholic was just a different flavor of Christian. So a Christian that believed in evolution meant that I could too. They were an authority figure. I was a very stupid kid.
Weren't we all?
So a friend of mine at the time who's gone full MAGA cult, and I don't consider a friend anymore, but he was a friend at the time, and he wanted to test my faith. He was an agnostic, and he specifically wanted to test my faith. So he sat me down in his room and played Zeitgeist. And it didn't do anything to my faith, but because I was a paranoid fundamental Christian that believed that it spoke to that part of me that wanted to feel really, really special with special knowledge about the Bilderbergers and all that other fun stuff, and it put me on the path of being an Alex Jones fan, because this particular version of Zeitgeist was edited to have loose change interspliced into it as well. So
do you want to know my experience with Zeitgeist? It was introduced to me by the conspiracy theorist guy that I worked with who didn't believe the moon landings happened. And he told me to go watch Zeitgeist. So I did go watch Zeitgeist, and I was a committed, believing Christian, evolution-denying, whole 9 yards when I watched Zeitgeist. And when I watched it, it got to the third part, which was the whole religion part. And, how, Christianity is just the copycat religion or whatever. And that part, because I was a believing Christian, I was like, okay, this part's got to be bullshit. And so I started looking into it, and it's like, yeah, the copycat theory, that is kind of bullshit. Like, most of the points they were making had, it's zero actual historical backing up. And, stuff like, saying that ISIS copied Jesus or Jesus copied ISIS or whatever, but like the timeline on it was wrong, or I forget exactly, but
back
it was like
when ISIS meant something completely different to the public
yeah,
knowledge.
okay, the Egyptian god ISIS, not the Islamic State. Yeah, no, it was like there was stuff that was like when you look it up, it's like, okay, no, they got the time frame completely wrong for that. That doesn't even work, and like the story is only very tangentially similar, and so that got me thinking, okay, well, if that, you know, I'm a Christian, I believe in Christianity, so Christianity has to be true, so it's not a copycat religion. So if they got that wrong, what else did they get wrong? And so that actually kind of led me down a more skeptical path, which ended up with me not being a Christian anymore, but also not believing the Zeitgeist movie about any of its shit. Because it's like, well, if they're going to just blatantly lie about this, what else are they lying about?
You were a much more reasonable person than I was around that time.
I was also like, that was kind of concurrent with my reading of the Bad Astronomy blog, which was, like I've said this before, Phil Plait was the first person to write an article that had me notice an actual error in the Bible with like, well, if the wise men at Christmas time saw a star in the east and followed that star, how'd they end up going west? And it's like, yeah, it could just be like that Greek word could just mean they saw the star as it rises, and if the star rose in the west, then it would make sense that they followed it west. But then that translation's only ever found in the footnotes, not in the main text. And, you know, this is the inerrant word of God. You'd think that the proper translation would be in the main text, not in the footnotes. And that was what, like, triggered my descent into atheism. So this was kind of along this, like, this was about the same time that I started noticing that sort of thing.
So the reason that the reason I bring any of that up is one of the things Alex Jones used to do all the time back then was he would scream about the next apocalypse that was going to happen that you needed to buy gold and vitamins for.
Yeah.
And then when it didn't happen, he would then make a broadcast that said that we stopped them because so many people knew about what was going to happen, and that's the thing that stops them from being able to do their stuff. Like he literally painted a world where if everything is happening in your head, that's the only place where it needs to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, next tweet. This was in a tweet, but the tweet's kind of irrelevant. I just kind of like the meme, so I saved the meme without the tweet. Gravity is a lie. Density and buoyancy are the truth. So with density and buoyancy, the reason things go up versus down based on their buoyancy is because of what, if gravity is a lie? Like why do dense
what force is acting on that?
Why do dense things go down? What is it that determines that down is the correct direction for dense things to go if gravity doesn't exist?
Flat earthers definitely have one thing right. Density is the thing we need to be talking about.
They are very dense. They are so dense that you can find them on the seafloor with that submarine that just imploded.
Oh, that's dark.
It is dark, but it's also kind of funny. Like, I mean, it's sad that the kid that didn't want to go on the submarine was on the submarine and died. But if we put that part of it aside, it's funny that a billionaire spent a bunch of money on extravagant
Why did they use
bullshit.
carbon fiber and not steel? Who the fuck? They were told not to.
Because that's the libertarian submarine.
I like how so on Twitter there's a contingent of people who are like bon voyaging everybody who died on the submarine as like the brave new world libertarian thinkers, that they're gonna pave the way for industry decoupled from whatever they think is controlling it. The Jews, I guess. I don't know.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. My partner was flashing me. So
Mine's in a Pikachu onesie right now.
There's boobs over there, so I'm not listening to you.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you have boobs too, but
They're not real.
I don't get to see your nipples, and they're not real.
I mean, there's a couple of Twitter. There's
I
a
was
couple
just
of Twitter accounts.
I was just about to be like, "Where's the fan art of Cirrus with his nipples?" No, wait, I've seen those.
Yeah,
I have nipples in those one too.
Yeah. Some of that fan art involves you.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says another trans shooter regarding, I forget which shooting this was, some shooting that happened recently. What's amusing about this, though, is that the person that they've got the picture of saying it's another trans shooter, their Facebook page is no longer up, but Vice News reported on it, and they went in, they examined their Facebook page and looked through everything. And it turns out that the shooter that Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling trans, didn't seem to be trans. Seemed to just be a guy who was very vocal about his support for Donald Trump and the Second Amendment and liking guns and liking Trump and not liking Biden. But there were 3 pictures on his profile that were him in a dress with long hair. Therefore, it's a trans shooter, even though it's a Republican Second Amendment gun nut.
Oh, I see. The Independent actually has an entire article on this, pointing out that she leads the far-right voices falsely claiming that the Philadelphia shooter's trans.
Yeah, and I actually cut this tweet off because it shows the thing. I have a policy on my channel where I don't ever mention the names of any of these shooters, because part of the reason people do shootings is, well, this is a way for me to go down in the history books and be famous. So fuck that. I'm not giving them what they want. They don't get named for this. But yeah, no, this person is not trans, or at least there's very little evidence. The only evidence is you can find pictures of him in a dress with long hair. You can find pictures of me in women's lingerie. You can find a video of me in women's lingerie. No, I don't have it queued up. I'm not going to play it for you. I will spare you that now. But it's it'd be like pulling that video up and being like, oh, Vice Rhino is trans. No, I'm not. I'm a cis guy. Just because I wore lingerie once because I thought it was funny doesn't mean I'm trans.
Oy, oy, oy.
So anyway, let's move on from this one, because fuck that. Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene for just trying to, no, not fuck in a good way. Fucked up the ass with a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. Because she's just trying to spread fear of trans people using shootings as that. It's even if this person was trans, that's 4 mass shootings that have been carried out by trans people in the entire history of the United States, as opposed to how many of them have been carried out by straight white Republican men?
Thousands.
Yeah, if we want to compare it and do a comparison based on what their percentage of the population is, then it seems like being a cis white Republican man is much more concerning than being trans anything. So anyway, moving on. Conscious Philosopher says, to address this once and for all, yes, the Big Bang is the proof that the universe began to exist. Also, you have Dr. William Lane Craig's philosophical proof that the universe can't be eternal, among many other arguments. What I found most interesting about this is that when discussing cosmology, whether or not the universe had a beginning, rather than quote a cosmologist or bring up a cosmologist to support that position, they quote a philosopher, an apologist, William Lane Craig. Because, as it turns out, when you actually quote cosmologists about this, they are pretty much unwilling to say anything definitive about whether or not our universe had a beginning. Yes, our local instantiation of space-time had a beginning in the Big Bang, but the universe as a whole, the cosmos as a whole, we don't know. And
which is the honest answer, and they don't like the honest answer. They like the abrupt, knee-jerk, this is the answer that I know works answer. Well,
because if it had a beginning, then it had to have a beginner, and that must be God. Which, there's a bunch of assumptions in there as well. But, even if we grant those assumptions, the base assumption that the universe had a beginning is not necessarily true. That has not been established. It's just our local instantiation of space-time has a beginning. Nobody contests that. But our local instantiation of space-time is not everything that exists or will exist or has existed.
Hold on.
Oh, my partner just gave me my credit card back, so now I'm afraid to check the statement.
I see the thing about the report from Vice News. Apparently, this the on the previous one about the shooter. Apparently, they supported Donald Trump and also BLM. That's a weird. That's a weird.
No, Marjorie Taylor Greene claimed that they supported BLM.
No.
Because there was like one picture of him with his fist raised in the air or something. So that's obviously a BLM supporter.
The Vice News article seems to suggest the same thing.
I don't know. Maybe I read a different article. Maybe Vice News has multiple articles on that.
Oh wait, no, I see what it is. Okay, so the Independent that was reporting on the Vice News article, the Independent claims that he supported Black Lives Matter, but on the Vice News article, the only mention of Black Lives Matter is pointing out that this person was more concerned about stopping gun control legislation than Black Lives Matter, but there's not any other real... Yeah, there's no other mention there.
Blade Runner says, no, raise fists as Black Panthers. Like, yeah, but like, in this day and age, that's taken to mean Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. Okay. I see what it is now. The Independent that was posting based on the information in the Vice article. The Independent got that part wrong.
Okay, so the main point here is that I was right and you were wrong. Moving on.
Thanks, Rhino. You're a good friend.
So Frank Turek says, what is your favorite Bible translation and why? So I find it interesting that this is even a possible question. Like, it's the inerrant word of God. Like, Frank Turek believes in biblical inerrancy. Now, he will tell you that it's the original documents that were inerrant. Our translations all introduced errors, and the copies of the originals introduced errors. But the original documents were without error. But, like, it's the inerrant word of an omnipotent being, but we somehow managed to bungle the translation. And, like, is God going to let us know which translation is the correct translation? Which one is better than the other ones? Because there definitely are some that are better than others.
You'd think that. Technically, the New American Standard Version is the most accurate one that scholars point to. Correct?
Yeah, that's the most scholarly one that is still written in approachable English.
Mm-hmm.
I'm partial to the Anchor Bible translation. But like it's hard to get a hold of. Like you have to buy it book by book, and they're like $44 per book or whatever. So like I have Genesis and Mark and I think one of the other Gospels. I'm not sure which one, but like I have like 3 or 4 of the Anchor Bible, and like I would like to have the whole Bible in Anchor, but that would be expensive. And like, let's be real, I'm not turning to the Book of Lamentations very often.
What is the Pigeon Bible? What?
The Pigeon Bible?
Hold on, I have.
Is that in Pigeon English? Because that would be fantastic. Oh, I would love to see Pigeon English Bible.
The book is 752 pages long. It was translated. Who worked on it with 27 Pigeon speakers for 12 years.
Nice.
Huh. Yeah, no. The Pigeon Bible's a thing.
Plow King asks, why so expensive? Because it's a translation of the Bible that, like, it's a new translation where they have included translation notes. They explain exactly why they chose the words that they chose to translate out of Hebrew. They give a discussion of the current scholarship, and it's been a multi-decade process. So, like, the book of Genesis that I have from the Anchor Bible, that was translated in like the 1960s. But then when you get further on in the Bible, it's translated in the 1990s, because that's how long it took them to get through the Bible to that point. It's published by Yale. It's very academic. It's not just, hey, we translated it into English, here's the Bible for you. It's here's all of what we understand about the language so far, and why we chose the words we did, and why some people might disagree with that, and why others might agree with that. And it's a fantastic translation. I love it.
So apparently in the English Standard Version of the Bible, there's a couple of really, really fun translations that come from that. Like Luke 17:35, there will be two women grinding together. One will be taken and the other to the left. And the other will be the other left. Or Psalm 69, nice, 23, let their eyes be darkened so they cannot see, and make their loins tremble continually.
Luke 17:35, there will be two women grinding together. One will be taken, the other will be left. Yeah, no, I tend to favor the ESV, because that's kind of a nice balance between plain English and being scholarly, but they also play fast and loose with certain things. Like there are some spots in the New Testament where they're clearly talking about slavery, and the ESV will be like, oh, bond servants. And then, but weirdly, the NIV in the Old Testament will just come out and say slave. But in the New Testament, or no. The ESV in the Old Testament is just like, no, that's a slave. Slave this, slave that. But in the New Testament, it's like bond servant. But the NIV in the New Testament is like slave this, slave that. But then in the Old Testament is bond servant. It's weird how they like, both translations are trying to soften the slavery thing.
Yeah.
But like they are the exact opposite of each other when it comes to New Testament versus Old Testament.
So I think I actually know what my favorite translation of the Bible is. I think I've taken some time. I've done a little bit of research in the last 2 minutes.
It's the one into Klingon?
Nope.
Oh. It's
the Sonic Bible.
The Sonic Bible. Okay. I should have known.
And just so if anybody's wondering, that is a real thing. Look it up and have fun.
Okay. Enjoy that. My favorite translation is the one that I'm apparently doing with my partner right now, where you get Adam and Eve snowballing Adam's cum.
Yeah.
And respect the dick and stuff like that. So that's fun. And yeah, that's
everything.
That's everything. I tried to go easy on you today because I know you had a rough week. I was thinking that we would be done early. This isn't that early, but this is about
4 minutes. That's a lot of time. Oh wait, that's not a lot of time for most people, is it?
No, it's not. I do have to pee though.
Erectile dysfunction's a bitch.
Okay. I can't really comment on that, since I was talking about Adam and Eve snowballing Adam's cum back into his mouth, so I can't really.
You opened the gate for this. This is appropriate.
I can't really complain that you went too far after I did that. Oh, nope. Yeah, there was one verse where Jesus is Satan. I forget what verse that was, but basically Jesus talks about how a thief, like he explains that Satan is like a thief. He only comes to steal and destroy. But then,
and then Jesus is like a thief in the night.
Yeah, in another part in the Bible, it says Jesus is a thief in the night. So I think it was Luke 10:10. Jesus is Satan. Because Jesus says Satan is like a thief. The Bible says Jesus is like a thief. Jesus is Satan confirmed.
Whew.
So yeah,
well,
most of our reinterpretations are somewhat reasonable. Like, they're obviously not scholarly, but you can see how you get there.
Yeah.
The cum snowballing thing, that one also you can kind of see how you get there, but that one's less scholarly than the others.
This whole ordeal is teaching me that my webcam setup is not doing very well with my model. I need to figure out my lighting or something.
Okay, well, you know what? You need to take a nap or something. You've had a long week, so as always, fuck off.